The sky was not blue anymore. It was red, burning red, like blood spread across the heavens. The clouds moved strangely, lit from below by huge flashes of light. People in the streets stopped and stared upward. Some whispered prayers, others screamed. They all knew what it meant. Above the cities, the alien warships were here. They were massive, each one the size of a mountain. Their black metal surfaces swallowed the sunlight, making the day feel like night. Strange glowing symbols ran across their hulls. From their underbellies, smaller attack ships fell toward the planet like drops of black rain. In the great capital of Earth, the leaders of humanity stood in a large glass tower. The building shook with each distant explosion. Far away, ships in Earth's defense fleet were fighting, but one by one their signals went silent. No one needed to say it aloud. The war was lost. President Amina stood with her hands on the table, her face pale but her voice steady. We cannot win. We must save our people, even if it means leaving our home. General Corbin, his uniform torn and his arm in a sling, stepped forward. Madam President, if we leave, we may never return. Her eyes hardened. If we stay, there will be no one left to return. The room went silent. Outside, another explosion shook the ground. The alien voice came over the emergency broadcast, cold, mechanical, and filled with contempt. Humans, your time on this world is over. You will leave, or you will die. And so the order was given. Operation Exodus. All across Earth, giant star arcs, ships that had been built long ago for deep space colonization, were prepared. People rushed toward the loading stations, carrying only what they could hold. Families were torn apart in the chaos. Soldiers tried to keep order, but fear spread faster than their voices. At the largest spaceport, an old man stood with his young grandson. The boy's name was Elias. He clung to the man's arm, his eyes wide with terror. Above them, the shadow of a warship passed over the sun. Grandfather, are we running away because we're weak? The boy asked. The old man knelt, his eyes still fixed on the burning sky. No, Elias. We are leaving because they are stronger today, but strength changes. Someday, we will come back. The boy didn't speak again, but he held on tightly as they walked toward the Ark. In orbit, Earth's last battleship, the Resolute, fired its final volley at the alien fleet. It destroyed 3 enemy ships before being torn apart by a single massive beam of energy. The flash lit the entire horizon. On the ground, people gasped. Even the soldiers paused. Humanity's last defender was gone. The alien ships began to descend. Towers of fire rose from the oceans as their weapons struck. The cities of Earth fell one after another. The planet was dying before their eyes. Inside the star arcs, people sat in silence. The engines roared to life, shaking the decks. Through the viewing windows, they could see Earth growing smaller. Green forests, blue seas, white clouds, all slowly fading into distance. For many, it was the last time they would ever see it. On one of the lead arcs, President Amina addressed the people through the intercom. Her voice was calm, but her eyes shone with hidden tears. We have lost our home, but we have not lost ourselves. We will survive. We will rebuild. And one day, our children's children will come back for what is ours. In the dark corner of the control deck, General Corbin whispered to himself, "If we return, it will not be as beggars. It will be as kings." Far behind them, Earth was swallowed by the shadows of the alien fleet. The Valar Dominion had won. For now. But in the cold blackness of space, far from the reach of alien ears, a vow was born. It passed from the mouths of soldiers to the ears of children. It became a fire that would burn for generations. We will return. And when we do, The galaxy will remember. The star arcs drifted for years through the silent dark. At first, people hoped the journey would be short, that they would find a new home quickly. But weeks turned into months, months into decades, and still the search continued. The black of space became their sky, the hum of engines became their wind. Generations passed. The children of exile grew up without ever seeing Earth. They heard stories of its green fields, blue seas, and warm sunlight. But to them, it was a dream, something far away, almost unreal. Yet every child learned the same words, whispered from parent to child like a sacred promise. One day, we will go back. The first worlds they found were harsh. Rocky planets with thin air, frozen moons with no sunlight, burning spheres too close to their stars. But humans adapted. They built domed cities where the air was safe. They dug deep underground to escape deadly radiation. They turned dead planets into places where life could grow. Life was never easy. The Valor Dominion hunted them even in exile. Alien raiders attacked supply convoys. Unknown dangers lurked in the darkness. But the exiles learned to fight back. They became clever, fast, and dangerous. They built ships faster than the Valor could track. They learned how to hide whole fleets inside asteroid fields. On a small colony called Haven 7, the descendants of General Corbin formed the Earth Return Council. Its only purpose was to plan for the day humanity would reclaim their home. They gathered knowledge, mapped enemy movements, and stored weapons in secret vaults. The council taught that revenge was not just about war. It was about becoming strong enough so no one could ever exile them again. Centuries rolled on. The faces of the first exiles were forgotten, but their vow burned in the hearts of their descendants. The story of Earth became more than history. It became a legend. Children imagined the day when the skies above Earth would be filled with human ships and the Valor would fall in fear. Then, one night, in the Deep Space Observatory of New Horizon Colony, a young watch officer named Lyra saw something unusual. A coded signal had appeared in the black, an ancient human war cry, one that had not been used in over 1,000 years. She read the translation twice, her hands shaking. It said only 4 words. It is time. Return. Lyra didn't know who had sent it or how far it had traveled, but she knew one thing. The long wait was over. The generations of training, building, and planning had led to this moment. Somewhere, hidden in the dark, the fleet was awakening. Far out in the black, where no star shone and no ship dared to travel, a secret waited. It had been hidden for hundreds of years, silent, invisible, forgotten by all but a few. Now, with a single code signal, it began to stir. In the shadows of a dead star, massive shapes moved. At first, they looked like asteroids drifting in the dark, but as their hull lights came alive, their true form was revealed. Warships, hundreds of them. Sleek, black, and bristling with weapons never seen in any alien fleet. The oldest of these ships, the Eternal Vow, powered up first. Its engines glowed with a deep blue light as the ship's ancient commander, Admiral Cale Corbin, the great descendant of the general who once swore humanity would return, stood on the command bridge. His voice was calm, but inside his heart burned. "Signal the fleet," he said. "The time has come." One by one, the ships answered. The Iron, Will, the Homebound, the Skybreaker, each name a reminder of exile, each ship a promise of vengeance. The silence of the void filled with the low hum of reactors awakening after centuries of sleep. Deep in the engineering decks, crews moved quickly, checking weapon systems and armor plating. Soldiers sharpened their blades, tested rifles, and ran combat drills. Pilots sealed their helmets and studied attack maps of the Sol system. The humans were not going back as wanderers. They were going back as conquerors. Far away in human colonies across the galaxy, the same message spread like fire. The fleet moves. Earth will be ours again. On every world, people stopped what they were doing to watch the sky, imagining the day when the blue planet would rise before them. The return path was dangerous. The Valar Dominion had fortified the Sol system for millennia. They had turned Mars into a military fortress, filled the asteroid belt with weapons, and built massive orbital stations around Earth itself. But the human fleet had a weapon the Valar could never understand. Generations of rage, patience, and will. Admiral Kyle stood on the bridge, his eyes on the holographic image of Earth. He had never seen it in person. Yet he knew every ocean, every mountain, every shadow of the planet as if it were carved into his soul. "Set course for Sol," he ordered. "No turning back." The fleet moved as one, slipping from the shadows and into the stars. And somewhere, deep within the Dominion's empire, alarms began to sound. The humans were coming home. On the glittering throne world of the Valar Dominion, the air was calm and sweet. But beneath the golden spires, the great council chamber was filled with uneasy voices. High above the chamber floor, on a circular platform, sat the Valar High Lord, Sarath Vorn. His skin was dark silver, his eyes narrow slits that gleamed with cold light. Around him, alien ministers whispered among themselves, exchanging nervous glances. A hologram hovered in the center of the room, a moving map of the galaxy. At first it was just a web of glowing star systems, but one sector pulsed red, the Dead Star region, long abandoned. A Valar intelligence officer stepped forward, bowing low. "My lord, we have detected movement, not pirates, not traitors, a fleet." The High Lord's voice was slow, heavy with arrogance. "Whose fleet?" The officer hesitated before answering. "Human." For a moment, there was silence. Then the chamber erupted with mocking laughter. One minister smirked. "Impossible. The humans were cast into exile 1,000 years ago. They have no fleet." Another sneered. "If they return, they will return in scraps and rust, not warships." But Admiral Varix, the Dominion's most feared commander, did not laugh. He stepped forward, studying the glowing red markers on the map. "These are not the old humans. Their ships are larger, faster. They are prepared." The High Lord leaned forward in his throne. "Prepared for what, Admiral?" Varix's voice was sharp. "For war, and their path leads straight to Sol." The room fell silent. Ministers looked at each other with unease. The High Lord's eyes narrowed. "Then we will show them why they should have stayed in exile. Prepare the home fleet. I want every fortress, every patrol, and every station ready. If they reach Earth, it will be over our dead bodies." Across the Dominion's territory, messages raced through military channels. Mars' orbital guns were put on high alert. The asteroid belt defense grid was activated. Warships began to gather in the outer system, waiting for the humans to appear. But Admiral Varix kept his thoughts to himself. In his heart, he knew the truth. These humans were different. And if the old stories were true, they would not stop until their flag was flying over Earth again. The human scout ships slipped into the Sol system like ghosts. Their hulls were painted black, their engines running silent, their presence hidden from enemy sensors. For generations, humans had dreamed of this moment, of coming home. Now, after 1,000 years, the blue light of their birth star shone once more on their ships. From the cockpit of the Silent Wing, Captain Lyra stared at the view through her canopy. The sun was brighter than she had ever imagined, casting gold across the black of space. Planets glimmered in the distance, tiny jewels floating in the dark. Her breath caught when she saw it, far ahead, half hidden in shadow. Earth. Even from this distance, its colors struck her heart. Deep blue oceans, swirling white clouds, green land under the curve of the horizon. It was alive, beautiful, and It was under the chains of the Valar. Orbiting Earth were colossal alien stations, black and silver, bristling with weapons. Warships patrolled the skies like vultures circling their prey. From space, the lights of alien cities could be seen. Across the surface, the home world was not free. It was a conquered jewel, guarded by 1,000 guns. Lyra's co-pilot, Ryan, whispered, "It's worse than I imagined." "They've turned it into their fortress," she replied, her voice tight. "We're not just taking back a planet. We're breaking their empire's heart." The scouts continued their silent drift, sending images back to Admiral Kale and the fleet. The reports were grim. Mars was a war world now, its surface covered in massive gun platforms and docking bays. The asteroid belt was filled with hidden mines and automated defense drones. The path to Earth was a gauntlet of death. On the Eternal Vow, Admiral Kyle studied the incoming data. His officers waited for his reaction. He stood in silence for a long moment, then said, "They believe these walls will keep us out. They have forgotten who we are." Orders went out to the fleet. Phase 1. Eliminate the outer defenses without alerting the full Dominion Armada. Phase 2. Strike Mars and cripple its guns. Phase 3. Break Earth's orbit wide open. Back in her cockpit, Lyra glanced at the distant curve of Earth one last time before turning away. "Soon," she whispered, "soon we'll set foot on you again." And somewhere on the alien command. Stationed above Mars, Admiral Varric stared at his own tactical screen, seeing the faint traces of movement in the void. His instincts screamed danger. The humans were here. On the dark side of the moon, the human fleet gathered in silence. Their engines were cold, their lights dim. They were hidden in the planet's shadow, invisible to Valar scanners. The soldiers aboard stood ready, waiting for a single word. Admiral Kale stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vow, his eyes locked on the tactical display. Red icons filled the map: enemy patrol ships, orbital stations, and the massive fortress on Mars. His voice was calm but firm. "We strike now. No warning. No mercy." In the weapons bays, missile tubes opened with a hiss. Railguns aligned toward their targets. Energy cannons hummed with growing power. Across the fleet, captains gave the same order: "Prepare to fire." The first targets were the Valar patrol fleets stationed near Mars. Without breaking cover, the human warships launched a volley of hypersonic missiles. They streaked through space, faster than light could glint off their hulls. Moments later, explosions tore through the enemy formation. 3 alien destroyers shattered before they could even raise shields. The Valar commanders scrambled to respond, but before their orders could be given, a second human volley struck. Railgun slugs punched through hulls, ripping warships in half. Station alarms screamed. In the confusion, the humans moved in. From the Iron Will, Captain Mora led the first assault group into the asteroid belt. Her ship darted between the rocks, ambushing alien guard posts. Laser fire lit the shadows as the Valar tried to fight back, but the humans vanished and struck again from another angle. Mars's defense grid roared to life, sending massive plasma beams toward the attackers. 2 human ships were hit, their hulls burning. But they didn't stop. Fighters launched from the skybreaker, weaving between the beams and dropping EMP torpedoes onto the gun platforms. One by one, the giant cannons went dark. On the alien flagship above Mars, Admiral Varric slammed his clawed hand against the console. "Find them! How are they getting through our defenses?" His officers stared at the screens in disbelief. Every sensor showed dozens of attacks coming from different places at once. It was chaos. Admiral Kale's voice came over the human fleet channel. "Phase 2 is complete. Mars will burn. Prepare for orbital breach." And then, in the space, above Earth, the first human warships broke from the moon's shadow. Their weapons glowed like burning suns as they turned toward the alien stations. The battle for the homeworld had truly begun. The skies above Earth were no longer calm and blue. They were a storm of fire and steel. Human warships tore through alien formations, their weapons lighting the dark like suns exploding. The Valar fought back with everything they had. Plasma beams cut across space, missiles screamed through the void, and debris from destroyed ships spun endlessly toward the planet below. From the bridge of the Eternal Vow, Admiral Kale gave rapid orders. "Break the outer ring! Target their command stations!" Across the fleet, captains repeated his commands, and human gunners locked onto the largest alien fortresses. Massive railgun slugs slammed into their shields, cracking them like glass, before tearing through the metal beneath. The alien stations fought hard. From one, a colossal plasma beam sliced through space, hitting the skybreaker straight across its hull. The ship spun out of formation, burning, but her captain refused to retreat. "We hold the line!" he shouted as his crew kept firing, even as alarms blared all around them. Below, the people of Earth saw the battle unfolding above their heads. Explosions lit the night sky like thunderclouds on fire. For the first time in 1,000 years, humans on the surface dared to hope. Valar fighters swarmed the human fleet, trying to overwhelm them in numbers, but human pilots were faster, sharper. Years of training in exile had made them hunters. In the chaos, Captain Lyra's silent wing weaved through the enemy lines, dropping EMP bombs that shut down alien ships mid-flight, leaving them dead in space. Then came the ground drop. Human troop carriers broke past the last defensive lines and plunged toward the planet. Their hulls glowed red from the heat of re-entry. The first waves landed in the old cities, clashing with alien garrisons in brutal street battles. For every building taken, another had to be fought for. Admiral Varrix's flagship moved into the fight, its guns targeting the Eternal Vow. "Bring me their commander," Varrix ordered, his voice cold. The two great ships exchanged fire, each blow shaking the other to its core. Kale's crew worked frantically, rerouting power from damaged sections to the main weapons. Finally, the order came. Fire everything. The Eternal Vow unleashed a barrage so powerful it broke through the alien flagship's shields, ripping a smoking hole in its side. Varrix staggered as alarms screamed around him, but his eyes narrowed. "They will not take this planet while I breathe." The battle raged on, neither side willing to give an inch. But above the chaos, Kale's fleet kept pushing closer to Earth. Every kilometer gained was paid for in blood and steel. The final fight for the homeworld had begun, and only one side would stand when it ended. The Valar flagship drifted in low orbit above Earth, its massive shadow covering entire cities. Inside, Admiral Varrix stood before a glowing red control panel. His armor was scorched, his left arm bound in a metal brace, but his eyes burned with defiance. Around him, officers worked frantically as explosions shook the ship. "They are breaking our lines," one officer warned. "We will not hold for long," Varrix's jaw tightened. "Then we will deny them their prize." He entered a long, complex command into the console. The floor vibrated as hidden panels on the ship's underside opened, revealing a weapon unlike anything the humans had faced. A planetary annihilator capable of burning Earth's surface to ash in minutes. In the Eternal Vow, alarms screamed. The tactical officer's voice was sharp. "Admiral, the enemy is charging a planet killer. If it fires, Earth is gone." The bridge went silent. Then Kale's voice cut through the stillness. "All ships, focus fire on the flagship. Fighters, disable that weapon at any cost." Human squadrons broke from the battle and swarmed toward the giant ship. Plasma bursts and missile trails filled the void as Valar escorts fought to block them. Captain Lyra's silent wing led the charge, weaving between enemy fire. She fired EMP torpedoes at the weapon's power conduits, but only one hit its mark. The weapon slowed, yet still charged. On the ground, human troops fought desperately to hold the landing zones, even as the sky burned above them. Every soldier, knew that if the weapon fired, their fight would mean nothing. Varix watched the countdown. 10 seconds, an officer reported. The admiral's mouth curled into a grim smile. Let them watch their world die. In a last gamble, Admiral Kale ordered the Eternal Vow to ram the flagship's lower decks. The ship roared forward, its shields flaring as it tore through enemy fire. The collision rocked both vessels, throwing crews to the floor. Lyra's voice came over the comms. "We have an opening!" Her fighter squadron dove through the hole torn by the Eternal Vow and unleashed a final wave of bombs. The planetary annihilator erupted in a chain of explosions, fire blooming across the flagship's hull. On the Valor bridge, Varix staggered, gripping the railing as the lights flickered. His officers shouted in panic. The weapon was gone. The humans had saved their home, but the battle was not over, and Varix was not finished. The smoke over Earth's sky slowly began to clear. The Valor flagship was gone, burning as it fell into the ocean. All across the planet, surviving human ships floated in low orbit, their hulls scarred, their engines flickering. The war was over. Admiral Kale stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vow, staring at the blue world below. For a long moment he said nothing. Around him, his crew waited, each one breathing hard from exhaustion. Some were crying quietly, others just sat, staring into space, unable to believe they were alive. "Send the message," Kale finally said. His voice was steady but heavy. "Earth is free." Across the galaxy, the words spread. On human colonies, cheers and tears erupted. People embraced in the streets, ships fired celebration flares, and bells rang for the first time in decades. But on Earth itself, the silence was deafening. Kyle and his officers took a shuttle down to the surface. They landed in what had once been the heart of the capital city. The streets were cracked, buildings broken, and wind carried the smell of ash. A few survivors came forward, thin, pale, and trembling, but when they saw the human flag painted on the shuttle, their eyes lit with hope. One old man stepped forward, his voice shaking. "We thought you'd never come back." Kyle's answer was simple. "We never left you." As soldiers raised the flag of Earth again, the people began to gather. More and more came from the ruins. Men, women, children, some holding each other, some falling to their knees. It was not the Earth they remembered, but it was theirs again. Yet even in this moment of victory, Kyle felt the weight of what had been lost. Millions were gone. Cities were dust. The oceans were poisoned in places. Rebuilding would take years, maybe generations. That night, under the dark but peaceful sky, Kale stood outside the ruined city. He looked at the stars and whispered a quiet promise. Humanity would rise again, stronger than before, and no one would ever take Earth from them again. But deep in the galaxy, far from this fragile peace, other powers had already noticed humanity's return, and they were afraid. In the deep halls of the Galactic Council, a meeting was called in the middle of the night. Leaders of dozens of alien empires filled the chamber, their voices sharp and fearful. News of Earth's victory had spread faster than light, carried by traitors, spies, and frightened soldiers. A tall, silver-skinned delegate slammed his clawed hand on the table. "They destroyed the Valor Armada in one battle. How is that possible? The Valor ruled half this galaxy." Another, with scales like black glass, hissed in anger. "It is worse than that. They were not fighting with their full power. Reports say their largest ships never even left orbit." Whispers swept through the room. Many of them remembered the last time humanity had fought the galaxy. Back then, the humans were few, and their technology was weaker, but even then, they were almost impossible to defeat. Now they had returned stronger, faster, and more dangerous. On a far side of the chamber, an old council member spoke in a low voice. "If Earth rebuilds, they will not just defend themselves, they will expand. And when they expand, there will be war." Silence followed. Every leader in the room knew what that meant. Humanity was no longer the forgotten race hiding on a damaged world. They were now a force that could shake the stars. In the shadows of the council chamber, a spy listened quietly. He was human. His eyes glinted as he sent a coded message back to Earth. They are afraid, very afraid. Back on Earth, Admiral Kale read the message and felt a cold determination rise within him. The galaxy feared humanity. Good. Let them fear. Because this time, humans would decide the rules of the game. A week after the Great Battle, every star system woke to the same strange sight. In the skies above their worlds, giant holographic symbols appeared, 3 burning lines crossing a circle. No one had seen this mark for thousands of years, but, the elders remembered, it was the mark of Earth. On the communication channels, a voice began to speak. It was calm, deep, and filled with quiet authority. We are the children of Earth. For millennia you have forgotten us. You exiled us. You took our worlds and claimed our stars. That ends now. Every ship captain, soldier, and leader listened, in silence. The voice continued. This is not a threat. This is a promise. Return what you have stolen. Leave the worlds that once belonged to us, or we will take them back by force. On the trading moons, merchants froze. On the war fronts, soldiers looked at each other nervously. In the grand capitals of alien empires, rulers clenched their fists in fear. The message ended with only 3 words: we are coming. In the war room on Earth, Admiral Kyle turned to his officers. They will ignore the warning, he said. And when they do, we will show them what humans can really do. The alien empires laughed at Earth's warning. They called the humans arrogant. They sent messages saying, if you want your worlds, come and take them. Earth accepted the challenge. Before dawn on the alien homeworld of Zorath, their defense fleets detected something strange. Dozens of unknown signals appeared in deep space, then vanished. The alien commanders thought it was a sensor glitch, until the sky split open. Without warning, massive human warships emerged from hidden jump gates. Their hulls were black as the void, absorbing all light. No banners, no markings, only the 3 burning lines of Earth glowing faintly on their sides. The first strike was fast and silent. In less than 10 minutes, Zorath's orbital shipyards exploded into fire. The humans did not speak. They did not give demands. They simply destroyed every warship in orbit before the aliens could react. The shockwave from the blasts was seen from the planet's surface, turning night into day. Across the galaxy, reports spread. Earth has returned. Their warships cannot be tracked. Their weapons destroy fleets in seconds. In the council chambers, alien leaders argued, some calling for peace, others for war. But deep inside, they all felt the same fear. If this was only the first strike, what would come next? On Earth, Admiral Kale simply gave the next order. Begin Phase 2.